This is the Bulkraal Podcast with Riekert.
Hello everybody, Riekert here again, and thanks for joining us in the second edition of the Bulkraal. Thank you so much for joining us since last week with our maiden endeavor, if you wish. And thank you for engaging with us. That's the most important part. Thank you for your comments and the way that you have reacted. It's very important for us to take note of that, and it makes it worthwhile to make these videos and to have engagement. And that's the most important thing. The reason why we do it is we engage to bring out discussion about, to dive a little bit deeper into rugby as a whole, rugby as a beautiful game, and rugby at the Blue Bulls, at this beautiful club that we support. Now, this week I would like to carry on where I left off last week. I've got basically three highlights this week. I would like to discuss the general play of the Bulls as they are on tour. By the way, this is the last game that they play in this block of the URC. URC comes to a sort of an early standstill or early breathing space this weekend. And the championship starts in the Investec Championship, that is, starts in early December. Bulls kick off against Saracens. And also the international tours for the international teams, the Springboks, also start in the beginning of November. So we'll have to cover that as well for you, and we will definitely bring that and the news behind the news and a little bit of digging on those beautiful competitions. But this week I would like to continue with, like I said, the general play of the Bulls. Also have to touch on the referees. Unfortunately, that baby has not been put to bed yet. And then it's the Golden Horn and the Bulkraal Award that we got some information about and some feedback last week. A lot of you said you enjoyed that a lot. And if it makes a contribution to this program, I'm totally happy to do that again. So, first of all, let's just go back to the general play remarks that I have for what has happened with the Bulls thus far. And interesting, I'm just trying to find my notes here. Interesting is I've made mention and made notes on especially the last two Wales games, and we yet have to see how they're going to perform these. This is the Bulls, if I say they, against Benetton. Benetton, not that big of a competition for the Bulls, but the Bulls got to be very careful. The Italians are not what they were a year or two, 3 ago. I also, and I usually said after the Rugby World Cup last year, the fire that started to burn in the bellies of especially the sort of old minnows of yesteryear, being the Italians, that's not there anymore. And the club rugby, especially played at Benetton, is something to note of. But the general play of the Bulls that concerns me at the moment is the Bulls lineouts. The scrums work. This game at the back here is the game against the Scarlets last week. And the referee should have awarded more reward to the Bulls with their powerful scrummaging. They are streets ahead of other domestic franchises as far as scrums are concerned. So kudos to the scrumming gurus at the Bulls, if I can call it like that, and to the players that really bought into the game and bought into the strength of the Bulls, being then the scrums as part of what the Bulls really are and bringing to the game as well. But, and this is a big but, the lineouts, they don't work. Why? I don't know. I asked Jake yesterday when he announced the team for the Bulls against Benetton. What about Grobelaar? And I've been on Grobelaar, Johan Grobelaar, the last year or two or three. Good player, a valuable player. I know that Jake likes the way that Grobelaar plays, and Jake sees a different horses for courses, may I say, part of Grobelaar's play, and he really puts him into play as far as that is concerned. But Grobelaar's line-out work is not good enough. I asked Jake about that. I asked him previously, and I made mention yesterday as well. If you can find that video of the announcement of the Bulls, listen to that, the announcement yesterday. Listen to that and listen to the way that I asked the question, and obviously I'll give Jake the opportunity to sort of bring the answer to us that don't know why Jake favors Grobler to be his first starter, or the starter hooker in especially this game. He says, and this is Jake, he says Grobler does well, but Grobler has to gel with the jumpers. And we know that the Bulls have some of the best locks. The locks are favoured Springbok locks. But the Bulls, according to Jake, and according to how Grobler sort of folds away in his line-out work, they have to adjust with the jumpers and the timing of the jumpers. Now, I'm not yet around that in my mind. Yes, you have to experiment, you have to do that on a regular basis to get your A team, so to speak, where and what will they do. But if you compare Akker van der Merwe with what he does in his line-out work, he's virtually scintillating, at the lack of a better word, when he does his line-out work. Yes, he's a different player than Grobler, and obviously Jake wants to use both those talented players in different ways and times at certain aspects of the game, and let them start from the bench. But the lineouts and what the hooker has to do, in my mind, I've played hooker in my mind. Okay, that's 100 years ago. But in my mind, a hooker has to develop basically three skills, and Uli was one of the hookers that stood out for me to become a ball carrier like the Lucies, to do the fetching work like the Lucies. And nowadays, Bulls rugby, and especially I can say that all other Springbok, especially hookers, score the most tries. They're amongst the most try scorers in the world because of the loose play of the hookers nowadays. Look at the ruck. Look at how they perform there. So one would expect a sort of a combination of both skills, and especially your line-out skills, that needs to become more and more and more accurate. One just have to extrapolate a question or two or three about the positivity, or the possibility, let me rather say that, of defaulting on a good line-out close to the opportunity to score. There are many ways to sort of discuss this. I would like to have your comments on that, and let's engage on that. And I'm not breaking down Grobler. I like Grobler. I like Akker. I think South Africa, especially, we're spoiled for choice with Furies. We're spoiled for choice with ball carriers like the hookers. And the combination that we have there is second to none. And it sort of brings a new game or standard of game to international rugby. So please let me have your ideas about that, and let's engage on discussion. Let me quickly just run through the team that play Benetton today. Chakweni is important. He's at loosehead. He's at starting loosehead, and then Grobler. Wilco Low, what a workhorse. He's in the team for today's game. Kobus Wiese, he wants to play his part not only in the Bulls, and he's got his aspirations in the green and gold. JF van Heerden, also a young man that sort of cements his place. So hopefully Grobler will combine well with Wiese and van Heerden. Marcel is also there. You need the old head of Marcel, with respect said. Reinhard Ludwig, he's just all over the place. Elrich Low, and that combination, Elrich Low, Reinhard Ludwig and Marcel, they're going to create havoc as Lucies. The combination Papier and Boeta Chamberlain, I'm glad for Chamberlain, because I want to see that Chamberlain develops into the player that he never was at the Sharks. Yes, his place kicking is not up to standard at the moment, but we're getting there every game, Chamberlain, in my opinion, is getting better and getting better. He's a different type of number 10. I have said that previously. The moment Pollard left the Bulls to play in Europe, there's a tremendous void that suddenly appeared. And with Goosen, that is so much injury prone, we still have no real hard and fast answer on number 10. And let's have a discussion about that as well. Also, the rest of the backline, Boeta Chamberlain, Kurtley, Arendse, obviously we need not say anything about that. His sabbatical is coming up shortly. David Kriel, I'm so glad that David Kriel is back, and ever so more deservingly so. Kanan Moody, he plays ever so better in that number 13, and I'm thinking that he's going to make that number 13 the Blue Bulls jersey. He's going to make that his permanent jersey, not even speaking about the green and gold. Then Dianti, he gets an opportunity, as well as Devin Williams at the back. Devin Williams, one of the most exciting players that came to the Bulls from the Lowveld, and what a great player he is. On the bench, let me rather say on the bench, is Akker. Dylan Smith, exceptional time for Dylan Smith as well. Francois Kloppe, also a really good workhorse, with Ruan Vermaak coming in. Cameron Hanekom and Keegan Johannes, with Stedman Gans and Sebastian de Klerk also forming the rest of the group. Exciting group, good team to take on the Italians. But like I said, the Italians should not be taken lightly. They've grown in stature since the World Cup last year, and that is good for rugby, international rugby, and also good for the Bulls to sort of gauge and weigh themselves against the strength of the Italians as well. Now I come to the referees. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not yet convinced that especially World Rugby and the URC are doing everything that they should with developing referees. And I know social media was rife with discussions about Egan Cross that gave the first red card to David Kriel. But incidentally, and ever so, Egan Cross is the same referee reffing this game tonight against the Bulls and Benetton. My reasoning is, if Egan Cross, and I'm going to correct myself here because I thought my reasoning was sort of logic, that Egan Cross has to develop further. And then Jake reminded me that Egan Cross is the international referee. And if Egan Cross is the international, he's a test referee. He shouldn't be influenced this way. And I know there are some discussions that MV also had with other old or ex-rugby players, not old please, ex-rugby players, on this matter, on the red cards, and the debate still carries on. You can go on our channel and go and check it out. And one of the reasonings are that you shouldn't give the referees opportunity to rethink or to overthink a position. So now the onus is back with the players again. Okay, let's pause a moment and discuss this. What do we have to discuss? Let's start from where the problem, first of all, originated, and especially SA Rugby's attempt, let me use that word, to try and sort of better ball carriers' way of play. At schools level, where I'm involved as a commentator, there's more than enough emphasis that players will be they will be singled out, and they will be definitely checked out, and they will definitely be penalized if they go higher than this level where I'm showing the shoulders, and lower, I'm going to stand lower than the hips here, just in this part of your hips. That's your target. If you go lower and higher than that, you will be penalized. And I get the idea that that is what senior rugby is working towards. But remember, you're working with senior players. If the onus goes back to the players that the ball carrier now has to make sure and certain that the ball is being carried without a bent head going down, and I'm going to say something about that just now, or higher up, or the tackle has to be in this target, then the uncertainty becomes even greater. And like one of our colleagues has said just shortly after the second red card last week on Grobelaar, what must the players now understand? When is it a red card and when is it a yellow card? When is it only a penalty? And it's even grayer if you take into consideration what Jake has tried to clarify, that Egan Cross, who in my opinion should not have refereed again unless Tappe Henning, the manager of referees, dealt with that first defunct red card against Kriel and sort of let us understand this is what happens, because the cry out there, the vying for blood is out there. Social media is rife with comment that says let the referees stand up for a chance and let them get scrutinized, let take their pay away, penalize them for 2-3 games like a red card would do for 4, 5, 6 games if it was a player. But you never get the opportunity to speak to the referees for some distant reason. I don't know why. I've had the opportunity previously last year to speak to some of the referees and some of Jaco Pijper as well. And I asked Jaco Pijper pertinently, because he is now the consultant, the referee consultant at the Springboks, when will we be able to speak to referees after a game? And he was positive about that, to say, yes, perhaps we should open it up. So he's leaving it out there that there is that possibility that one day we will engage to that. After the second red card last week, I took to email and I emailed the URC and I said, please make opportunity that we as journos have the opportunity to speak to Tappe Henning, the manager. He's a South African born and bred referee, a great referee when he refed in South Africa. And he's occupied with referee development. And yes, there are new refs that have to come through the system at the URC. But let us have the opportunity to discuss this. I've heard this from the URC. Nothing. And I don't suppose I will hear anything from the URC until the next block of discussions. So again, as you say in Afrikaans, skeieregters is kroonwild. They're the protective people. And I'm not bashing referees. I've got very, very good relationship with referees at the Bulls, at club level. We have open discussions. We as commentators go to the referees before and after games and ask clarification about application of rules prior to games. They're open to discuss that. And I'm not a referee basher. But if something happens like 2 red cards in a row by apparently senior referees, and to quote Jake, a test referee, Egan Cross, you expect some kind of a feedback that you have to have from those referees. I'm going to leave it out there. Please engage with us on that so that we can take it further. This brings me to the last part of our discussion, and usually this is reserved first of all for the Golden Horn. I would like to this week I would like to award the Golden Horn to Club Rugby, to Naka Bulle, who became the back-to-back African Rainbow Community Gold Cup winners. What the work that Naka Bulle does as a club is amazing. And I know Willem Strauss, president of the Bulls, usually expand on that, and is proud, and rightly so. He should be proud of club rugby. And incidentally, if you've never watched a club rugby game at the Bulls, please make certain that next season you will engage. Go watch that rugby. It's pure rugby at its purest form. Remember when the schoolboys go through and they play their last schoolboy rugby, and they're not sort of pitched and pinched up to go towards provinces and franchises, club rugby becomes their sort of heaven, or their first next step. And many club rugby players are being watched by international scouts, and they are taken from those club rugby engagements to actually go and play international rugby. But my golden horn this week goes to Nakabilla, the club itself. I'm not going to single out the management of Nakabilla, because I want to make that award to the players, the coaches, the administrative team, everybody inclusive. And if there's a silver horn, it will go to Northern Rhinos, that also competed fairly and justly in the competition this far, or as it reached the end of the Community Gold Cup. And being the runners-up. Incidentally, if you haven't watched that game, the halftime score was 3-7 for Nakabilla, and the end total was 22-19. The end score was 22-19 in the favour of Nakabilla. Golden Horn, Nakabilla. Which brings me to the last award, the Book Troll of the Week. I have no hesitation in my mind. And again, I'm not going to single out any one of the referees. I don't have to do referee bashing. I'm going to hang this book draw around the URC management of referees. You should have come out by this time and tell us, the paying, vying, loving, loyal rugby public who support the Bulls, the Vodacom Bulls, what has happened and how will things change from now on? Because some game somewhere, heaven forbid, some game somewhere is going to cost the Bulls. And I don't want to be around when that happens, at the behest of a red card that only gets overturned in a committee. I know that Jake favours the committee. He praises the committee, the sanctioning committee afterwards. And good so, it should be like that they do their work, but they shouldn't do the work of the referee and the TMO and his assistants. That should be done by the boys on the field. So the book troll of the week, my book troll of the week, goes fully to referee management, to Tapper Henning and his referee management division of the URC. That's all for this week. Thanks for watching. Thank you for supporting the Bulls. Thank you for loving the Bulls. Thank you for loving our channel. Thanks for the engagement. I'm really looking forward to tonight's game. I personally think the Bulls can wrap this part of their tour up with a good win tonight. I'll be holding all my thumbs and my toes for this game tonight. And the Bulls will obviously, if they win tonight, or when they win tonight, just escalate their position a little bit further. The Bulls will escalate their position further, and when URC starts off again, we'll be fully behind our Bulls again. All the best. Thank you for watching. Until the next time. Groete.
This is the Bulkraal Podcast with Simon Riekert.